Cameras rolling? Yeah, good to go.
Well, excited for the week. You know, it's just we're in a good position. We've created energy around the program. We've created a great platform for the program, and as kind of the external noise grows around us, the need to focus internally becomes heightened. And so this week is about us not deviating from our process, not deviating for what's, allowed us to find success at this point this season. Obviously, there will be a few more people paying attention to what we're doing, but we've committed to not allow that to change us. And we've got a really great opponent coming here in Missouri, and I got a ton of respect for Eli and the program he's built. I see a ton of similarities between the two teams. Game control offense, physical defense, and just admire the way he's built that program over time. And so they'll present a unique challenge that we'll need to be at our best on Saturday to have a chance to continue the momentum of the season. But just like every week, I mean, your season's not defined by one game, and so we're in the process now. Guys are excited to play. The goal is to prepare as well as we can and to be ready Saturday to cut it loose and then move on to the next climb. But right now our focus is solely on Missouri. I also want to update on the injury front. Issa Ouattara is opted for surgery, so that'll rule him out for the remainder of the season. That's a shoulder injury that just never quite was able to heal to the point where he felt comfortable, we felt comfortable with him going out there. And so I'm excited for him to start the process of actually recovering. And though, we'll miss the possibility of him being out there to help us win. And Issa's such a important part of our program, voted captain by his teammates. He's been so engaged even as he hasn't been able to participate, and he'll continue to be that way and continue to be a captain for us. But I did want to provide that update, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
We'll start with Chris.
Your offensive line has started to get a big reputation for physical play and just controlling the point of attack. I know that was a big rebuild, bringing in all those new guys, finding them in the portal, getting them through fall camp, getting it cohesive. Just walk us through how all that happened and maybe who gets the credit for them developing into what they've been.
Well, first of all, it was an area that we felt like we needed to make progress from 2024 to 2025. We saw progress. We saw, and I think the results reflected that from a year ago. But in our league, if you're not winning up front, you're not winning games. And so both sides of the ball, to build quality depth, to have your top end players playing the game a certain way. We face week in, week out the toughest defensive fronts in the country. And, from explosive edge players to dynamic interior players, you have to be able to stand with these teams and go punch for punch. And so there was an awareness there. Hey, this is where we need to improve. We knew we had some of those answers internally, and then we also knew that there was a need to add quality players at the top end of our depth chart from the portal. And we were able to do that at the mid-year, and we're pleased with the additions we made there. Obviously, bringing Bryce in was a big deal for us in February. Jordan came in January, and we added a couple more guys there in the second window just to kind of bolster depth. And immediately you saw, I think, a physical change in the way we look. We're bigger, we're longer, and I could tell in spring practice there was just a different rate of contact or rate of force, at the line of scrimmage. It's almost like we've had to adjust the way we practice some, because what we were noticing in training camp is too much of inside run, too much of like the good on good physical parts, were leading to shoulders and whatnot. I think credit, I'm not gonna single one person out, because that's just not what we do. But I think the first thing you have to acknowledge is that we have players that care for one another and care about what they're a part of. And it's just like any of us, right? I mean, whatever organization you represent, when you have a connection to it, when you care about it, you're going to go a little further in your efforts, whether you're a reporter, or a coach, or a player. And these guys care a lot about this program, and again, they care a lot about each other. And so the players always set the tone. It's a player's game. That room has had to gel when you have a quarterback that's the ultimate connector that helps that. And so he models what it means to connect, what it means to hang out, what it means to build a true brotherhood, what it means to relate, and the players that we retain, Cade and Chase and Coop and Keegs and all those guys, Misa. I mean, they've all helped to build this cohesive group that's focused on football. They have a coach who I believe is the best O-line coach in the country. Chris Klanakis is as good as they come, and so you can't talk about their success. We can honor the commitment level, the connection, how far they're willing to go because how deeply they care about what they're a part of. But then there has to be someone that's helping them build mastery, and there has to be someone that's helping connect them around the tactical parts of execution, and that's Coach K. And Coach Nady is a part of that too, and we're lucky to have them both. So, I think this is one of the units that has shown the most dramatic improvement, and I think that's how you go from a good team to a great team. I think we have to continue, they have to continue to show this growth and development as we continue to play against really challenging fronts, but it's helped Diego operate a ton. It's helped our run game get going. A year ago, I think we were 125th in the country in yards before contact. So just for the nerds in the room, that study analytics, I don't know if I'm the only one, but we are now, I believe, number one in the country in that statistic. So to think about that shift, and what that means is we are moving people and allowing room for the run game to get started. That is indicative of the growth there. The space in the pocket and the time Diego has, and his ability to escape when coverage is tight. Those things have been huge in our success, especially in league games. That's a credit to their work. The touchdown Diego scores out of the pocket on the corner fire last week is Bryce Henderson coming out of the protection wall to pick that late blitz up to give Diego just enough time to score. I mean, that is execution at the highest possible level. So I don't know if there's time for any more questions after that. That's called filibustering, I think.
Steve.
I'm ready to play offensive line now. Clark, you guys have played in some big games. You were just on game day a couple weeks ago against Alabama, and coming out of that, you said, I want to see the response from adversity, how we're responding until so you do that. Is there a new challenge now in the next step of your program of taking success, like a big win against LSU, the celebration afterwards, moving into this week, embracing game day, and going and doing it again, and maybe again and again?
I think for me, I caution against, like when you frame that as for the program, I think there's like a bigger picture connotation there that right now maybe it's just my inability to think that way. I'm focused solely on this team, this specific team, and what we need from this group. And the challenge of any disappointing result is you can't hold on to it too long. I mean, I think we identified things in that Alabama game that we did not like about how we played. Obviously, they're a really good opponent, but all these teams are going to be good. And so what we want to do is keep our long-term goals in reach. What we want to do is find the potential of this team. And to do that, we need to show a consistency in our process. And by the time we're lining up on Saturday, I really want these guys to have fun. I want them playing loose and free and together, and that's when we're at our best. And when you start to search too hard for those kind of like big picture, the program needs kind of stuff. I think you start to really grip it tight. And I think when you grip it tight, it's hard to breathe and it's hard to play the way we need to play. So we're excited about the challenge Missouri presents. We're excited about the moment we're in our program. I do think we need to enjoy that. And then we need to just pour into our preparation and have as much fun as we can have on Saturday. And what I know about this group is I trust them. They care so much about what we're doing that no matter what comes each week in, week out, I'm gonna have a group of guys that are gonna be standing side by side with me, ready to continue to grow, evolve, and attack what's next. And I think that's kind of the beautiful part of what seasons allow you to do is like, your team is revealed. We celebrate the parts of it that are good, and we improve the parts that aren't. And each week you get to learn a little more about it. So definitely a cool moment for us. But again, I caution against anything that makes this bigger than one game in our season. Where on Saturday I need a team that's going out and having fun playing the game free.
Henry.
Yeah, you guys have had a really good run defense obviously so far this year. How do you approach a guy like Ahmad Hardy and maybe Bo Pergolo as well?
Well, we have a good run defense. They have a really effective rush attack. And this is both the people and the scheme. I think Eli, over the years, and competed against him when he was at North Carolina State as the OC. The stretch run game has always been challenging. And if you go back a year ago, a couple of breakout runs to me are the difference in the game. And so we need to build the run wall. We need to down our mistakes. I think they have the number one explosive rushing attack in the country. So you can't expect a perfect performance on Saturday. When the ball breaks out, we need to get it on the ground. And if you go back to the LSU game, again, there was a throw on the perimeter that we didn't get to the ground that ended up in the end zone. Well, that'll happen to us on Saturday if we're not focused on, again, both the execution and then the how we play element, vicing the ball and getting it on the ground. So Hardy's a really good player, really effective in the scheme. He's contact tough. He's got good balance. A lot of the stretch runs that split are vertical cuts where you're running on a horizontal line defensively and the back's on a vertical course, and that's a challenge now. And if you're not able to get shoulder contact through the thigh on tackles, he's going to break tackles. So getting multiple hats to the football, vicing the ball down twice, so an initial vice and a secondary vice. Like I said, downing mistakes will become important, and understanding that they'll get their plays too. And the quarterback's obviously been effective. Also, it's been interesting to watch his season. This offense, I would text Eli early in the year, and I'm like, dude, are you going to stop like scoring points? And he's a friend, but it's like, my God, when is it enough offense? But I've been impressed with the quarterback, both in his ability to make plays as a thrower, but also what he can do as a runner as well. And he's going to test your rush integrity, but also they'll design runs for him that I think are challenging schemes too. So we'll have our hands full, but it's also a great challenge. And like you said too, we believe in our rush defense. So it's this is good on good. We have to show up and play better than them on Saturday.
Chris Harris and then Teresa.
Coach Cade McConnell's block has really taken off socially. So I'm curious to see your reaction the first time you saw the tape of that play, and then as far as just one individual effort on offensive line on one play, have you seen something like that, or how often have you ever seen anything like that?
It's up there with the all-timers. It's interesting. We always talk about an offensive line mentality as a group that just kind of works in the shadows and never gets credit. And now he's become a sensation. Cade is a heartbeat in our program. He is an emotional leader for us. He's a guy that's really, I think, coming into his own as he's played a bunch of snaps. Last year he had a role. This year he's taken ownership as a starter, and so I believe you're seeing him elevate his game, which is really exciting. But he's such a great person and a great team member. He's tough, he's spirited, and it's no surprise that that the play wasn't a shock to me. It was awesome. I showed it to the team before the world knew about it, and I think I ran it back 3 or 4 times. We had fun celebrating that in here, and then obviously he's getting deserved attention, and I don't think he actually wants it. I think he would rather move on to other people. But yeah, it's a cool thing. But again, a testament to that group, a testament to their mentality, a testament to how they're coached, and that's when identity shows up for you on Saturday. When all those things are aligned, you have a chance to have plays like that, and it's really, really cool.
Is there a specific blocking scheme that was dialed up for that play, and now do you expect him to do that every time?
Well, what he's doing is he's free in pass protection, so he's helping, and that's unfortunately I've seen that in our practices and on our practice field, and I don't always love it, because when you're helping in that manner, your defensive line go flying everywhere. But I love seeing it show up on Saturday, and I think Coach K would say that's why we practice it, is so that it shows up for us. I wish I could tell you it was something that I designed, but that would not be true. So this is about playing with an attitude and an edge. It's about seeking opportunities to be physical. Those are things that define our program, and obviously, Cade was a representation of that in that snap.
Teresa?
Clark, obviously you and Vanderbilt have been investing in this program before this season to get to this point. How much has, you referenced the portal earlier, how much has the portal NIL helped continue and maybe bring extra resources to this program?
It's been huge, and I think we had some really good foundational elements here. These are like the eternal verities of team building and things I've learned over my career, and that are really important to me in terms of what I want to be a part of and what I want to be responsible for. And yet, that won't get you all the way there in the SEC on Saturdays, especially as the game changed around us. And we missed an opportunity early, just because I don't know that anyone really, maybe some people did, but I didn't see what transfer portal NIL was going to become. So we missed an opportunity early to have one of these quick turnarounds, where you see it happen overnight. Because I think there's a lot of things foundationally that I believe in that we've executed and done really well here. And we play with a competitive and connected team. That's also a lost art a little bit in the era of swapping people in and out. But with those foundational elements in place, we awaken to the opportunity or the need to engage in these ways, and the impact that had on our ability to go chase results, can't be overstated. So, that all kind of like converged at the same time, where we had gone 2-10, 5-7, 2-10. So you're kind of waking up this idea that, hey, we just took a step back. That wasn't planned for, and in my mind it's always like, try to take a perspective of a perch of success in 15 years, and what am I learning in this moment, what adjustments and adaptations am I making so that we can get to that perch of success in 15 years. And 23 was our eyes were open to some shifts that needed to happen internally to engage in the portal, to open up resources for our program. And the minute we did it, this whole thing changed. And it changed for the better, because I realized too, just because you're bringing new life into the program doesn't mean they can't become connected to the suffering that's taken place here to get it to this point. They can still embody the aspects of our program that are so important to us. And again, this goes back to relatedness, and better people make a better team, and the expectations we have of how we engage in our community and on our campus. And from that, you're talking about guys like Corday Sidnor, you're talking about guys like Eli Stowers, you're talking about Diego Pavia, you're talking about Zaylen Wood. And then you also had these foundational parts here that were, Glenn Seabrooks was coming in, Miles Capers had been here, Langston Patterson, Brian Longwell, Martell Height, Marlon. So I don't need to name every player, but from that you realize like the convergence of those two things. What was really healthy and foundational here, and what helped build the top of our depth chart and added to the competition, and immediately improved the product on the field. And I can't emphasize enough that the guys coming in were willing to take on this program first by learning about this program. You have to be really clear that this is Vanderbilt football. It's not, if you're coming from a different school, you're not applying how you experience football there to here. You have to learn what this is about first. And once you understand it, our standards, our expectations, how we do things, what I ask of every person in this program is now help us move it forward. And I think the guys that we brought in have been masterful that way, and that's why we are where we are. We haven't lost that DNA, that the foundational parts of what I think was a really healthy start. The environment, the culture, all those things. What we've added is really healthy competitive parts that, willingness to engage in the portal, collaboration with campus, willing to resource a team, give you opportunities then to compete at higher levels.
To follow up on that, with the portal, we're seeing that scoring game differentials in conference games seem to be down in the conferences across the country, but in the SEC, it's 10 points a game.
Yeah.
Comparison, the NFL going into Sunday was 10.1,
Yeah.
and it's on track to be the lowest since 2000. Are we seeing that parity truly has arrived in the SEC?
I believe so, and I think in a lot of ways, the parts of this program that are really smart, that have always been fighting for margins, are helping us to success also, if that makes sense to you. We didn't plan on rolling the ball out and, hey, we're just going to be better than. We knew we were always going to have to find these little competitive edges along the way, including, again, how much we ask our guys to invest in the process. But we've elevated performance on the field through development and addition. We've maintained this focus on winning those small margins, and I feel like I'm coaching in the NFL now. I feel like every game I've got to be dialed into the situations, and I've got to be on point to make sure we're putting the team in position to be successful. We practice those things year-round. Ben Calton is who organizes that for us, and we want to do those special situations as good as anyone. So 2 minutes into half, that field goal we kicked last week, that mattered. That was a great sequence for us to give us a chance to then come back out in the second half and have a drive for a touchdown. Ending the game, kneeling it out after we did execute a first down go down. I mean, that's a huge win for us, because the only thing scoring does there is open up opportunity for LSU to get back in the game. Those are the margins we're looking to win, and we have a smart football team that cares a lot about it. And so it's a fun. I mean, obviously it's a fun part of Saturdays, because with the parity that it's going to come down to just a few plays.
Joey, finish up with Graham.
I guess you mentioned kind of trying to internalize a lot of the things that are outside of the program this week. Just how have you seen the attitude with that? I imagine at some points it's hard to kind of drown all that out, but how are your players responding to it?
They've been great. I mean, we had a really good day today. Part of this too, and I think I've said this a few times, but this team started formation January 7th. So January 7th, we didn't say, well, listen, I hope we're, within striking distance of a bowl game midway through the, it wasn't like, if we're 2-3, it's like, no, we planned on setting a course to win each Saturday. And we talked about in January, playing into January. And we were very intentional about what is that going to take from us now, and what is it going to take from us as we go through each cycle of the year. And so I said this to the team this morning, we were very intentional about painting that vision in January, and now we're living the vision. So let's not let it be bigger than it is. This is what we expected. This is what comes with it. So we can get over that and stay focused on, again, this climb, which is Missouri. And these guys have put a lot into it. They care a lot about it. You know, I mean, it's hard in this world to maintain a laser focus for 24 hours, but the work we put in on Sunday, the work we put on today was very purposeful, very intentional, and I can only measure what I see that way, and I'm pleased with how these guys are showing up, and I know that it's important to them that we go chase more.
Graham?
You guys face another tough SEC defense this week. When you watch Missouri on tape, do you see or notice any differences that you maybe haven't seen in game against Alabama, LSU, South Carolina? And if so, what are like the challenges of defending against those new challenges that you see?
Like their defense, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, you know, every week it's a little different. You know, I think what stands out to you about Missouri is their edge play, first of all. These guys are really good on the edges, and you can't, in a similar way to South Carolina, you can't talk about having an offensive plan without talking about how you're going to account for those guys. They've also had really good play in the secondary, and you know, I've been impressed with Catalan. He's been all over the place. You know, I mean, they are tight and they contest space. Tight in coverage, they contest space. I think they have a good pressure package too that they pull out, and if you get in a 3rd and long, you're gonna bear the brunt of that. You know, you'll see it in early downs too, and sometimes pressures give you opportunities. Sometimes it gives you negative yardage snaps where you have to have patience and work your way out of a bad play. So every week's a little different. You know, this defense stands out in the way they contest space and the way they play on the edge. Every year I've played against these guys, they've been physical, they've been tough. You know, that's one thing I respect so much about Eli is, hey, I feel like this is a 3-phase program. So for us, you know, our challenge is to be a 3-phase program and to try to play better football than they play on Saturday, you know, and it's a real challenge, but again, it's what makes it fun.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.